the Open Public Meetings Act. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by advertisement in the Cape May Star and Wave, on the Township website, and posted on the bulletin boards of Township Hall. We request anyone wishing to address council, please wait for the mayor to recognize you. Please state your name and address for the record, and please remember, all comments must be kept to 3 minutes or less.
Thank you. Please stand for Pledge of Allegiance, a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Conrad?
Here.
Councilmember Coombs?
Here.
Councilmember Roy?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Perry?
Here.
Mayor Sippel?
Here. Okay, we'll move down to the work session. Before we start the presentation, I have a proclamation here. Support the Drive Sober, Get Pulled Over 2021 holiday crackdown. Whereas approximately 1/3 of all fatal traffic crashes in the United States involve impaired drivers, and whereas impaired driving crashes killed 10,551 people in the United States in 2018, and whereas impaired driving crashes cost the United States almost $44 billion a year, and whereas during the last 5 years, New Jersey roadways experienced 36,049 crashes and 648 fatalities involving impaired drivers, and whereas as enforcement crackdown is planned to combat impaired driving, whereas the end of the holiday season is traditionally a time for social gatherings where include alcohol, and whereas the state of New Jersey Division of Highway and Traffic Safety has asked law enforcement agencies throughout the state to participate in the Drive Sober, Get Pulled Over 2021 holiday crackdown, and whereas the project will involve increased impaired driving enforcement from December 3rd, 2021 through January 1st, 2022, and whereas an increase in impaired driving enforcement and a reduction in impaired driving will save lives on the roadways, and therefore be resolved that the Township of Lower declares its support for the Drive Sober, Get Pulled Over 2021 holiday crackdown from December 3rd, 2021 through January 1st, 2022, and pledges to increase awareness of the dangers of drinking and driving. Signed this 15th day, November 2021, Frank Sippel, Mayor. With that being said, we're going to move down to our presentation. Mr. Dave Golden, Director of Fish and Wildlife, is going to give us a presentation tonight. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate you giving me a little time to speak with you and the council about a project that the Division of Fish and Wildlife and the Department of Environmental Protection are about to undertake at the Higbee Beach Wildlife Management Area. Higbee Beach is in Lower Township, so I wanted to make sure the council understood what was about to happen. It's an exciting project, and also have the opportunity to speak with some of the public about the project. I'm going to try to advance the slides with my wireless mouse so I don't have to keep going over. Let's see if this works. There we go, perfect. So the Division of Fish and Wildlife manages 358,000 acres statewide divided into 122 wildlife management areas. Those are shown there in the yellow on the map. Get this right. I know we're going to be talking about Higbee Beach Wildlife Management Area, which is in the southwestern tip of Lower Township. Higbee Beach Wildlife Management Area is roughly 1,200 acres in size. I'm sure many of you are familiar with it. We have a big project plan there that is set to, well, we hope will be implemented sometime in late 2022, maybe early 2023. We're referring to it as our Pond Creek Restoration Project. So if you look at the aerial on the screen, this is an aerial view looking west into the Delaware Bay. I don't have a pointer, but if you see the white area on the left-hand side of that slide, that is the magnesite plant, and the road running along there is Sunset Boulevard. So along the Delaware Bay, there's a creek that feeds into the Delaware Bay called Pond Creek. So Higbee Beach is shown there as you look west. If you see the creek that is feeding into the Delaware Bay, you can see around it there's some vegetation that looks white, and then beyond it there's some vegetation that looks green. That darker green vegetation is what we refer to as Phragmites. It's an invasive marsh plant. So much of this project is designed to restore the marsh to natural habitat, and the way to do this is by restoring natural tidal flow to the marsh. So when the magnesite plant was in operation, the creek, Pond Creek, was cut off to have flow into the Delaware. There was a sluice box put in place, and that impeded flow. Over time, that sluice box became dysfunctional, and it cut off tidal flow into Pond Creek. What happened when the tidal flow was cut off is we had Phragmites grow. So this project will restore tidal flow into Pond Creek. The project's divided into 3 phases. Phase 1 and 2 is the marsh enhancement and the upland habitat restoration. So the marsh enhancement comes through restoring tidal flow. The upland habitat restoration comes by us restoring the magnesite plant. So phase 3 is an interpretive center, and we have some conceptual designs for that. And as we move forward with the implementation of the restoration project, we hope to get final designs on the interpretive center. The project is designed and built around not only habitat restoration, but public access. And so there's a number of recreational elements that are in place as we design this. You can see those arrows pointing to the yellow dots. Those yellow dots on the map represent wildlife blinds, so structures where the public can go into them and view wildlife. So sometimes people refer to them as wildlife hides or bird hides, but they're blinds where people can go in, and they're pretty advanced designs, I'll say, compared to some that people may be familiar with. If you look at the one on the bottom right, that's a pit blind, so it's right at the entrance. You can see that black arrow pointing to the dot at the very bottom. That's a pit blind, so that's a blind that will be designed for ADA accessible, so people can go into that blind, and they're down very low. So lots of times with blinds, you want to bring yourself down at the level that wildlife is, and that's the way we design this. This is a rendering of the restoration project itself. If you can see the dark green in the center, that's the marsh restoration area, and there's a yellow line that goes around and hugs the periphery of that darker green shaded area. That yellow line is an upland berm, so the berm itself will go all the way around Pond Creek, the restoration site. And that berm will be at a height that it holds back tide, number one, and then number two, allows the public to access and walk along the berm. Along that berm is where the bird blinds will be. And there's 7 bird blinds, wildlife blinds, along the periphery there. Along with the habitat restoration, as I said, comes the potential for there to be an interpretive center built on this site. So this picture here, you can see the water tower. It's fairly iconic and an easy place mark, so you know where you're looking at. So this is the parking lot. The gray area, the area that's shaded gray there, is the parking lot that's across from the World War II lookout tower. In fact, at the bottom left-hand side of the screen, you can see the tower right there. So directly across the street is a parking lot now. It's in fairly dilapidated condition, but we will build a parking lot there to provide access to all the recreation elements that I already described. That site will also be above the north of the gray area will be where we do our upland restoration. The upland restoration will consist largely of trying to recreate dune habitats on that site. But try to get this slide to go. So here's a rendering of what it could look like after the restoration, and you can see the parking lot there. What we've also done, as I mentioned, is had a conceptual design done for what an interpretive center might look like, and that is pictured there, so an architect has done that. As I said, as we move forward with the restoration project, the slideshow, oh, it didn't end on its own. Thought it ended. As we move forward with the restoration project, we hope to get final designs on an education and interpretive center on this site. Where we're at right now with it, so to give the mayor and the council an idea of the timeline, we went out to bid with this project. It's a very large project. It's really elaborate. and complicated. We already have all the permits and the final designs for the project, so we're ready to go. What we're looking for right now, or attempting to get, is a contractor to do the work. The money's already budgeted for the project, now we need to select a contractor. We were out to bid once, thought we had selected a contract, we had to redo the bids, and right now what we are doing is reshaping the proposal slightly, and the bids should go out by the end of the year. Assuming we stay on in that time frame, we hope to have a contractor selected by spring, say March of 2022, and then at some point following that, we will work with the contractor to move forward with the construction of this project. It's really exciting not only from a habitat standpoint, which is how we approached it originally, or the reason behind it, but also from a public access standpoint. I'm sure the council recognizes that Higbee Beach is really a hot spot for bird migration. A lot of wildlife-related recreation happens there, bird watching, wildlife watching, especially in the fall and the spring. This will only enhance that. I suspect that once this is built and we have the trails and the bird blinds in place, that you'll see more people coming down the lower township to go to Higbee Beach and to view the habitat restoration project and view wildlife, especially during migration. So with that, that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions from the council, and if the council sees fit, any questions from the public. I set out some maps there. Some of those were pictured here, the renderings of the trail map, and also some of the habitat restoration. So if anyone wants to walk over and see them, tried to find an easel, we were unsuccessful.
I see that. Anybody from council have any questions? Anybody?
I just have a comment. I wish you could start sooner. We need trails, and we need this in Cape May County, especially in Lower. I'm thrilled. You are right. It's exciting.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Yeah, I agree. And I think this is not only a home run, this is a grand slam for Lower Township. Or we have to, use it properly, I guess we'll say, and get the word out, but it's a home run, grand slam, you name it, for the township, and I really appreciate it. And I want to thank you for coming down. Is anybody from the public want to ask Mr. Golden a question? Are you okay with it, Mr. Golden, taking questions?
Certainly.
Just please stand up so you can hear you.
Yes, looks like a good project. Will that be accessible by kayak from the bay, or?
It will be accessible by kayak from the bay at the appropriate tide.
Okay.
So it's been designed so there's full flushing during a normal tidal cycle, so at low tide, it should be drained out. No culverts. In fact, that's one of the things that we're doing to restore tidal flow. If you're familiar with the site, as you walk through the magnesite plant now, there's a tiny bridge, and there's an undersized culvert, so you're not getting adequate tidal flow during a normal tidal cycle. So that culvert and that bridge will be widened, and the width now is probably 15 feet. It'll be widened to 90 feet, so to give everybody an appreciation for the scale of the project.
Anybody else have any question?
So Davies Lake is pictured in one of the aerials. Yeah, you can, it's hard to point out, but let me see if I can find a spot where I can. Okay, in this map here, on about middle of that map to the left, you see a dark blue, it looks like a lima bean. That's Davies Lake. And so Davies Lake's really interesting ecologically because it floods occasionally, and then it goes towards fresh water. So there's a concern. We know about the value of Davies Lake to the township and to the people who use Higbee Beach. So we are, part of the project will reinforce the barrier to Davies Lake. Davies Lake breached during Hurricane Sandy, and we suspect that if it goes unprotected over time, if this project wasn't done, that with time it would fully breach. So the project will reinforce the dune that divides the Pond Creek, the mouth of Pond Creek to Davies Lake, so that it moves more towards fresh water.
Anybody else? We can take a pause for a minute or two. If anybody wants to look at the pictures from the table, you're more than welcome to go over and take a look at them.
Okay, well, thanks,
Thank you,
Mayor.
Mr. Golden.
I appreciate you giving me the time to present.
Your phone.
I'll be right back.
Knock my cup over. So, Well, you're quick with the tissues anyway.
Nah, that'll be enough.
They're junky paper towels, aren't they? I mean, I can tell those, the sound.
Yeah. They are truly paper towels.
Yeah, he does.
This cup run us over.
What's that?
This cup run us over.
Yeah, knocked it over.
I know what the guy that come all the way down here, put pictures out, and nobody knows what kind of.
That's good. Great project.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Kev. It's all right. It's all right, man.
Just real weird and being
Thank you.
Who's that? That worked good. I had a bit. And that's where I'll be. I'll be there in a couple weeks.
Hey, Frank, good move putting that folder up there.
Yeah. See, Tom's like, good move by putting a folder back there.
That
It would
already.
be- it would be right here.
Yeah.
That's why people come out and they want to hear about this. So, look up there, 5 or 6 of them, real good pictures real quick, you know. And that's why. There's a good idea, bring him in here for this, you know, good PR for us.
Good done.
Okay, we'll move on. I want to thank Mr. Golden one more time for coming down. I appreciate it. Okay? Mr. Donahue,
You get to follow up.
you have the floor, sir. This is going to be an annual briefing that the Emergency Management Coordinator provides to the council and public once a year. It's usually done in November, so this is where we're at. So it's all yours, Ed.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity to give my annual report. Just a little brief explanation on how emergency management works in New Jersey. The state has an Office of Emergency Management, which is called the Rock Regional Operations Center, up around West Trenton at division headquarters, and each county has an OEM, and each municipality has an OEM. Marty Palugi is the County Office of Emergency Management Director here. We certainly have capable and professional fire chiefs and a police chief, and my job is not to tell them what to do, but to ask them what they need. So if we had an event, I had to open up our Emergency Operations Center, which is actually at the police department. Usually it would be for a hurricane, a major event like that, but it could be for something like a hazmat incident that only affects a couple blocks as well. So the state has a system set up, a computer system for resources. So if we exhaust our resources for, just say, barricades or cones or front-end loaders, whatever we need, I shoot off a request to the county OEM to get that resource. If they can't handle it, they shoot it off to the state. And then the state even has contracts with other states if it gets bigger and bigger. So two major projects we had this year for OEM. The first was updating our emergency operation plans and emergency support functions. There's 15 of them. Just to give you a visual, every town has it. And it deals with everything from police communications, county dispatch, fire, police, rescue, hazmat incidents. That has to be updated and approved by the county, and then the state police have to update it. So that's been done. Another major project was our hazard mitigation project that each local municipality does. through the county OEM. And that looks at like what's your worst flooding area in the township. We had a big project about a year ago at Clearwater and Roseanne. Redid the whole road there, raised the road, put a giant pumping station in there, and that alleviated flooding in that area. We do have an issue in the landing area near the Miss Chris Fishing Center with tidal flooding. We're looking into maybe elevating the road there, maybe even the bulkheads. That's in the process with I know Cody Stanford's familiar with that for our engineer's office. We're looking into doing that stuff. Our shelters, in an event, we did have to evacuate people. And the thing with that is usually you want to encourage people just to get out of the area, go to a neighbor's house, a relative's house, somebody else's house, just get out of the area. Our shelters are basically limited to like 3 to 7 days, but the main shelter would be the Millman Center. We can hook up a generator there. We're in good shape with cots and blankets for now that we got from the county. Looking into getting some other cots through our capital budget. Our backup is the rec center right behind here. The thing with the rec is they don't have a kitchen, so we'd have to bring in food. Our shelters would be staffed by rec personnel. If it went for any duration, we'd have a Class 2 police officer in there for security. Shelters of last resort are the Villas and Town Bank Fire Departments. They've been used in the past. They can't house a lot of people. They have kitchens, they have generators. But the trend has been to get away from that, because those places are going to be used for firefighters and first responders. Some towns use school buildings. We have a lot of good school buildings here, but the issue has always been lack of emergency generators. Some of our schools have limited generator capacity. That might be something we want to look to in the future with the school boards. You probably have to get it through a grant, a Homeland Security grant or a FEMA grant. But so if we went beyond 7 days, we would encourage people to go to county shelters. And county has 4 large shelters, the largest being Woodbine Developmental Center, which I've been told that can house up to 700 people for 2 weeks if necessary. The Upper Township Middle School is a county shelter. Upper Township Elementary School, and a county just opened up Martin Luther King Center in Whitesboro as a county shelter. Our biggest at-risk population is our seniors, especially during winter storms. The power goes off. Most people are going to stay in their house and just stay warm. So that's why it's important to encourage people to reach out to their neighbors. If you know you have an elderly neighbor, check on your neighbors. Our mitigation plan, too, we're part of the community rating system, which is our CRS. And Jen Dow, she coordinates that. So to get an insurance rating, it starts at 10 as the lowest, 1 is the high. Right now, Lower Township's at a 7, which means our residents, if they need flood insurance, they get a 15% discount. Another major thing that happened this year was after years of dedicated service, our Lower Township Rescue Squad ceased operations on June 19th. And many towns are having that same issue, but the township has entered into a preliminary 3-year contract with Inspira Health Network. They provide 2 ambulances, crews for the ambulances, 24/7, a 3rd ambulance during busy summer season. I'd like to thank them. I really appreciate the way they came in. They stepped up on short notice. The manager gets a report from them monthly on response time. They've committed to an 8-minute response time. So far, they're, in general, are meeting that requirement, 8 minutes or less for EMS services in Lower Township. Also, Inspira brings to the table, if you have like a mass casualty incident in Lower Township, they can bring in extra ambulances, extra paramedic ambulances, mass casualty ambulances, ATVs. They can even set up large field tents if they have to for like triage areas. And they are staffed where the rescue squad was in the public safety building at the airport. Every so often, an OEM office is required to do an emergency action plan, or EAP. This year's events where we needed to do one included our July 1st fireworks event that draws thousands of people to North Cape May Bayfront. The Escape Triathlon event, which over 1,000 athletes sometimes jump off the ferry for that triathlon. So we do that in cooperation with the RBA down at the ferry terminal. This year, that was held in August due to COVID. It's usually in June. A new one is the Military Appreciation Football Game. that Eileen Kirsch, my deputy, had a lot to do with. That turned out really good. That's in September. We're going to keep doing that. The Veterans Day Parade that we just had, it was a good success on Bayshore Road, and the mayor has a lot to do with that, organizing that. And our Rotary Christmas Parade that is coming up, and that, the route for that will be different this year because of the construction on Bayshore Road, but that's in progress. Our warming center is still the Seashore Community Church, thanks to Pastor Tim West and his staff. We had several meetings with the county Department of Human Services that coordinates that with us, Middle Township and Wildwood. And Middle Township and Lower Township are going to rotate that responsibility on a monthly basis this winter, which is nice because it gives each town a month off without having to worry about it. So Middle is now, we won't have to worry about it till December. Middle Township's doing that right now. We established a couple pickup points. If you have at-risk individuals, ours is going to be right out here at the covered bus stop, where Cape May County Fare-Free Transportation will actually pick those people up, take them to the warming center, and then bring them back. We also have protocols in place if somebody presents with any COVID or flu-like symptoms. Emergency Management Assistance Grant, that's a grant that we get from the New Jersey State Police. Eventually funnels down through FEMA. That's $10,000 a year. We have applied for that grant again. I do expect to get it. I want to thank Gary Douglas and Katie, his secretary, for helping me do the monthly. You have to submit monthly, quarterly reports on that. You have to show that you're doing exercises or real-world scenarios that you're working on to keep up with that paperwork. So we should be getting that grant again for $10,000. Last would be a COVID update. Unfortunately, we're still dealing with this, believe it or not. Latest stats, which are from Friday. Total cases in Lower Township out of roughly 22,000 people. Our total cases are 2,785. That includes our long-term care facilities. That number, 2,681, have since recovered and are now off quarantine. So the total active cases right now, we've been as high as, at the peak of COVID, I think our high caseload was 128. We made it down to 5 at one point, and then the Delta variant hit. We went back up, but our total cases as of now stand at 35. Sadly and unfortunately, we've had 35 fatalities from our long-term care facilities, and we've lost 34 residents from the community due to COVID. Some good news on that front is that our RT, or rate of transmission, continues to drop. It's dropped over the last month. The latest report I have from the Cape May County Health Department was 0.74 RT, or rate of transmission. And anytime the RT is below 1.0, it indicates the spread is decreasing. The county also ranks, I think, around the top 5 in getting people vaccinated. CDC reports that 67.1% of the entire county's population is fully vaccinated. That percentage increases to 87.3% for just people 65 and older. So there's some good news on that front. Hopefully that continues to drop. It may go back up in the winter. I hope not. The county health department is offering vaccine booster shots every Wednesday from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. at the Avalon Community Center. If anybody wants a booster shot, you don't need a appointment. You just show up and get it. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that. I think it's a plus for the township. I know you covered it, but the county OEM office is co-located with our police department at the airport, where you would actually work over there also in time of emergency. So that's a plus for us. And in the long-term care facilities, they're pretty much self-sufficient for the most part. I guess if they lose it, if the heater goes out in the wintertime, they're supposed to have their own plan to relocate. But then we have a problem a while back with one of the nursing homes. Was it the heater or?
It was during a winter storm. Yeah, boilers actually.
Boilers.
Minor explosion in one of their boilers, but they brought in right away temporary heating units from another facility and set that up.
Mm-hmm.
And they have their own emergency operation plans in place. If we do have to completely evacuate, which I think they did for Sandy, they have a bus companies that come down and take them to a different facility.
Yes, yeah. And I want to personally thank you for the work you've done, especially during COVID. You're here every day. You worked a lot of hours, and there are some OEM coordinators out there that are not very engaged with their township, and that's not you. You're very engaged, and I appreciate all your hard work. So
Thank you, Mayor.
Anybody else want to add anything?
I think he's done an impressive job.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Thanks, Ed. Okay, we're going to move down to the consent agenda. Anybody on council have any comments on consent agenda? I'll just comment on two resolutions. The 2021-336, that's a grant we received for $170,000 from the state. Anytime you get a grant is a good day. That's going to help offset the cost on the fire lane in North Cape May construction over there. And also 2021-354, it's a resolution of relaxation of procedures associated with the site plan review. Basically, what that is, the state allowed us last year to let businesses expand their premises and serve outside with picnic tables, et cetera, because of COVID. That was due to expire November 30th of this year, so we just now extended to next year of November 2022. That's a good thing for the businesses. So that's all I have. Does anybody from the public want to comment on the consent agenda? We'll close the public portion.
Approval of minutes, November 1, 2021, and resolutions 2021-334 through 2021-354, and ordinance number 2021-21. This is the salary and benefit ordinance for the Township of Lower. This is the first reading of this ordinance. The second reading and public hearing has been scheduled for December 6th.
Is there a motion to move us forward?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Councilmember Conrad?
Yes.
Councilmember Coombs?
Yes.
Councilmember Roy?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Perry?
Yes.
Mayor Sippel?
Yes?
Ordinance number 2021-20. An ordinance amending Chapter 400 Land Development of the Code of the Township of Lower to designate Class 5 cannabis retail licenses and Class 6 cannabis delivery licenses as conditional uses in the GB1, MD2, and industrial zoning districts. This is the second reading and public hearing of this ordinance. This ordinance has been posted, published, and made available to the public.
Any council comments on this? Anybody from the public want to comment on this ordinance? Close the public portion. Is there a motion to move forward?
I make a motion, we move forward. I'll second.
Councilmember Conrad?
Yes.
Councilmember Coombs?
Yes.
Councilmember Roy?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Perry?
Yes.
Mayor Sippel?
Yes?
Resolution number 2021-355. This is authorization for the payment of college credits. It's in the amount of $32,940.
Any council comments? Public comment? Close the public portion. I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Councilmember Conrad?
Yes.
Councilmember Coombs?
Abstain?
Councilmember Roy?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Perry?
Abstain.
And Mayor Sippel?
Yes. Okay, we'll skip over the manager's report, and we'll go right to the engineer's report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The first project I want to talk about is the reconstruction of Wilson Drive. As you know, the township was notified by the NJDOT that they received a grant for $180,000 for this roadway reconstruction. South Jersey Gas is currently on site working on replacing all their main and services in the area. They're scheduled to be completed this by the end of the year. And then right after that, we're planning to get in there and advertise our portion of the roadway work for public bid right after that. So I think probably in January to advertise this for public bid. The next project we have is the flooding investigation that we did for Cloverdale, Evergreen, and Spruce Avenue. This project was submitted to the NJDCA Small Cities Grants Program for their consideration. We were authorized at this meeting to complete the final design for this project, and we're waiting to hear back from them. Hopefully, we're going to hear back soon. We're not sure if it's going to be before the end of the year, but possibly. Might have to wait till January. The next project is the Clem Mulligan Sports Complex. The contractor is moving ahead great on this project. They just rolled all the sod last week. It's really bringing together the project. It looks really nice if anyone's been out there recently. And then the township has elected to put fencing around the project for added safety around the basketball court, to keep, if, say, the ball rolls out on the road, it keeps it into the court area, and then fencing along the entire park. This project is expected to be completed in its entirety, hopefully by January or end of January 2022. Next project is the reconstruction of Atlantic, Howell, Millman, and Maori Avenue. The survey and base mapping of this project is almost complete. We're scheduled to complete some asphalt corings next week to determine the existing roadway condition and how the design of the roadway is going to be completed. Next is, as the mayor pointed out, the township was notified that they received an NJDOT grant for the reconstruction of Fire Lane in the amount of $170,000. That's very excited, and we were approved at this meeting to start that design of that project. Other proposals that we were approved for this meeting was to work on and complete a concept plan for Rotary Park. This is another exciting park project for the township. It includes a lot of big improvements, and also is going to be coordinated with the LTMUA behind the site. The next project, we're going to be replacing the concrete around the Millman Center, making sure all of the ramps and the concrete sidewalks are ADA accessible and meet the current standards. That completes my report. Have any questions?
I don't have a question so much, but I have a comment for the Clem Mulligan Sports Complex. This is for just the general public, that the managers had discussion with the chief of police. We're looking to do a police substation down there at that park. You know, we're spending $2.7 million on that park, so we'll make sure it's going to be taken care of. But for the most part, the majority of the money for that project is actually came into the township through open space and a grant from the state of New Jersey. So again, it's still taxpayer dollars, so we're looking to put a substation down there. So anything for Cody, anybody?
No. And to add to that, there are going to be security cameras throughout the site. It's also going to be a lot better lit. There's lighting all around the asphalt walkway around the park.
Yep,
That'll
sure
help
is.
as well.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we move to public comments. Anybody from the public like to come up and make a comment? Yes, ma'am. Come up to the microphone, please, and just state your name.
Adele Jones. I'm here to ask your help about a problem with the coyotes that we're having. It is so bad down near the ferry and near Channel Apartments. I have requested help before from the township, and you run into problems about what you're going to do with them. They have come after me. They have come after my dog. They've gotten my dog twice. We've just redone the whole playground down there at the corner of Jonathan Hoffman and Bayshore. I don't know if you realize, but there's not a whole lot of children that know the difference between a straggly German Shepherd and a coyote. But they are very aggressive. They're coming after me constantly on my property. I have almost 8 acres there in the woods behind the playground. And it's gotten to the point now where I can't, after 4 o'clock at night, walk my dog on my property. I have to go to the mall and walk my dog. And I mean, that's just my problem. But I also worry about the children too. I had come before and asked about using, I'm not comfortable firing a gun, and I had hired some hunters. They're all insured. They have all their paperwork. We presented it to the township, and they were giving them a hard time about it. These are the same 5 hunters that the DRBA has hired and used, and so far as I know, they've gotten over 60 coyotes on the ferry property. They found a den of over 70 coyotes right behind Channel Apartments. So I'm just asking if there's anything that you think that you can do to help before someone at the playground gets hurt. I feel that I'm in danger. It's kind of ruined the aspect of having privacy in the woods. but I don't know if there's something that you can do.
When if you can, when the meeting's over, if you give your cell phone to the township clerk, we'll work the issue and get back to you with some information anyway.
I would really appreciate that.
The problem is the DRBA gets to do what they want, and they don't necessarily have to follow certain New Jersey rules and regulations, but
I do understand.
no, this is something important to do.
It is, and like I said, I felt it was good that I was going and getting somebody that was comfortable and licensed to carry firearms rather than me trying to shoot on my property,
And not being,
protect myself. Like I said, I've already had 2 vet bills because of this, and constantly, they are right there, they're up on my porch at nighttime, and I just need something done.
Okay, we'll look into it.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else like to comment to council? Okay, we'll close the public portion of the meeting. We'll slide down to council comments. I have just a few things to put out. We had our Veterans Day Parade last Saturday. It was a great parade, a lot of work. I want to thank Eileen, Public Works, Police Department, everybody else that helped put that parade together. It was our 4th parade, and we're looking forward to the 5th parade next year already. The Rotary, Lower Township Rotary is going to have a Veterans/tree lighting ceremony on Tuesday, November 30th at 7 p.m., starts inside the rec center. The Rotary Christmas Parade is scheduled for December 11th. It's a Saturday, and because of the construction of Bayshore Road, if I'm not mistaken, it's still going to leave the Big Lots parking lot, Mr. Laffey? Yes. Come out of Big Lots parking lot towards Town Bank Road, make a left, go down to Bayshore Road, make a left, and end where it usually ends at the mall right there. Other than that, I wish everybody a safe and a happy Thanksgiving. Deputy Mayor Perry?
Yeah, one thing I want to add to the infrastructure projects that are going on in the township. The county engineer's office had a pre-construction meeting on Thursday, October 28th. It has to do with reconstruction and paving on Pacific Avenue in Diamond Beach and Wildwood Crest. The majority of the project is in Wildwood Crest, but there is a section from, I believe it's Madison Avenue, to the Wildwood Crest border, which is Lower Township there. That's going to be, it is also part of this project. It's a $4,920,000 project. It includes sewer, curbing, sidewalks, and paving. So it's a fairly large project. Do you have anything to add on that?
No, you covered it, sir.
Okay. So that's another infrastructure project that is also getting worked in Lower Township. And in regards to the coyotes, I believe there's probably also a den back at Coxall Creek Wildlife Preserve, because I live on the other side of it, and I hear them every night, and they have been in my backyard also. And I have 2 small dogs, so they're, easy prey, so to speak. So we will definitely look into that and see what we can do.
Sure.
That's it.
Councilman Roy?
Okay, I really don't have anything to add other than just have a safe, happy, and healthy Thanksgiving.
Councilman Kudos?
Same, happy Thanksgiving, and now, when the Christmas season rolls around, support the local businesses. Thanks.
Councilman Conrad?
again, happy Thanksgiving. Please, as Cody says, go drive past Clem, Mulligan. Look at some of the other parks, drive around the township, see what's being done. And again, Mr. Donahue, thank you for all your work. The rec center, also, all this stuff's also being done with the rec center, and of course, Eileen, who likes to be pointed out. Other than that, have a good night.
I have one thing I forgot to mention tonight. The MUA, Lower Township MUA is having a public meeting on December 1st at 5 p.m., reference to water to Middle Township, mainly Delhaven. It's a public meeting. I will put this out there, though. This is from their ordinance from Lower Township MUA. Please take further notice that the initial rates to be charged to Lower Township MUA customers with service locations in Middle Township will not in any way affect or otherwise have an impact upon the rates that presently are charged to Lower Township customers in this township with service location in Lower Township. So the bottom line is the water that's being run to Middle Township to support Delhaven Homes from our MUA will be paid by the customers there, and the rates will not affect Lower Township customers. So that's all I have. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.